11:01.
Well, this is the day the Lord hath made, rejoice and be glad in it.
All right, greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to our second episode of Little Victories, a show about improving the social condition here on the Monterey Peninsula and all around the world. Today we have some pretty amazing guests. We've got a couple of guys that have experience living in the homeless community and are living in the homeless community. And we have one representative from a local resource and, of course, the Rev, who's just here to interject his thoughts and feelings about life here on the peninsula. Also, my co-host Aaron Go Lightning, who's going to, sit here and give us the 20-something generation's view and perspective of what they think about the homeless situation and other resources here on the peninsula as well. I guess we're going to start with a little something. I had a pretty amazing event that happened last week, right before the show, the day before. And it was basically an affirmation of what I'm doing and letting me know that I'm where I need to be and I'm doing what I need to be doing. I was leaving Medicine Wheels, my bike shop out in Carmel Valley, and was getting ready to get on the bus. And as I was standing there, I looked down at my feet and found a hawk feather. Now, as a Native American, these are very rare and special. We actually have to earn these. You don't just go out and take them from hawks or what have you. So when I looked down and saw this feather, it really, inspired me and let me know that I'm doing the right thing. And by being able to change the world one little victory at a time, this affirmation lets me know that I'm there. So I just wanted to share that little story with you before we get the show started. So we're going to talk with Bicycle Dave here first off, because Bicycle Dave is an amazing traveler. He does anywhere from 40 to 50 miles a day on a touring bike that is basically a bicycle RV. We've had some images of it, and hopefully we'll get them up at the end of the show for you to see exactly what a touring bike is. Dave's been in and out of Monterey, I don't know, how many years?
Probably 8 years, 10 years.
Just kind of
Yeah,
traveling. How many times have you been here?
Oh, several times. I used to come here in the 70s too with my family when I was a kid.
Nice.
But early 70s.
Yeah.
Used to be much different.
So what have you seen change since you've been here coming and traveling?
Well, not the roads. They're all the same roads. But I don't know, it used to be a much friendlier town.
Yeah.
It used to be a much friendlier town. It was much more open.
Right.
And it's a lot more of a movie set now.
Right.
And but I don't know, it's still beach town.
Yeah. By movie set, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, pretty much false fronts, and it's more about appearance and substance.
Right.
And so that's okay. That's a sign of affluence.
Yeah.
Affluent.
Yeah.
Because
The tourism industry and stuff.
yeah.
And Haas, have you seen a change, Haas?
Well, I concur with the things he says. I mean, changes.
Yeah.
Things seem to be the way they are.
Yeah. So, you've been around for how many years?
In Monterey, the most of 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. How long have you been living on the streets?
The whole time.
Yeah, the whole 4 years.
Yes.
And where'd you come from?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Wow, that must be quite a change.
Yeah.
Winter's a little bit better though, yeah?
Yeah.
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 Nice.
The winters. If you're homeless there, though, you die.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Well, that's why we have resources like Pastor Jim, and Pastor Word Ministries. You guys do an amazing job. We didn't get a chance to talk with you last week. There was some scheduling issues, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your program and what you guys do?
Well, we have a breakfast in the park every Saturday morning. We've been doing it for a little over 8 years now. So we try to feed them a hearty breakfast. And we have some hot food. It's scrambled eggs and potatoes, and then baked beans, and then we give them sandwiches. And then we usually have groups that come and bring food, so it could be anywhere from pastries to cake, sandwiches, or some meat, extra stuff. So, and then we got coffee and hot chocolate and tea and water bottles. And then we realized that a lot of them need tents, and we normally give away 2 tents and 2 sleeping bags each time, and tarps. And as you know, we have a bike ministry. We work together
Yeah, I
on
know a
that.
little bit about that.
Yeah, and so we've given away 433 bikes, and I'm not a bike mechanic. So when those bikes that a lot of them do, as you know, need a lot of work, I reach out and try to get people to help me to do that, and you've been gracious to help us. And so we're doing stuff like that, and we also give out gas cards and try to meet their needs and get to know them. And so we.
Well, you guys also give away clothing and hygiene products
Yeah,
and stuff.
right.
Yeah, a lot of hygiene stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we have clothing and hygiene items that we give out, propane bottles and cooking stoves, and, so we try to meet their needs as best we can with the
Right.
limited resources that we have, so.
Hopefully this show will generate some donations and people will be able to reach out. And if they do want to reach out to Password Ministries, what's the phone number, and do you have an email address that they can contact you at?
Just be pass the word ministry dot, it would be Gmail,
At Gmail.
in Monterey. Yeah, pass the word ministry, Monterey. I should have wrote that down.
Well, yeah.
I don't normally refer to that myself,
Right,
but yeah,
exactly.
so
And David,
anyway.
it sounds like you've taken part in this program a little bit.
I've been volunteered to work on bikes there for a while.
Nice.
And people came in, the guy was very high, it was very pushy, I want this fixed, I want this fixed, I want this fixed. And I said, there's people whose bicycles don't work that were here before you.
Right.
And I'm probably gonna take.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing some upgrades,
Yeah, right.
You get a SRAM derailleur, and a couple of Alex rims. It's not going to happen.
So,
Do
pretty
you
much.
remember Bill?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
very
he
much.
was great.
He was
Yeah.
the original.
Yeah, for about 4 years,
Wow.
yeah.
Now, Aaron, you're from originally the Central Valley, right?
Like Fresno area.
Yeah, and you've seen some of this stuff
Oh, yeah.
there in Central Valley.
Oh, definitely,
Any
yeah.
comparison? What do you see as far as the difference
I
between there and here?
think that it's really similar. Obviously, it might be a little nicer living next to the beach and not in the hot Central Valley, but
Right.
I think the numbers are fairly the same, and it's just as big of a problem,
Yeah,
and if not, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Rev,
Especially with
I know
business.
you are kind of new to the community.
I am
and
kind of new, but I have been a beneficiary of Pastor Jim's feast down there, and I just want to say kudos.
Thank you.
There's maybe 200 people that show up and they
Right.
get fed, and nobody's
Yeah.
ever turned away, and there's toothpaste and, like you said, hygiene products and
Batteries.
socks, people, batteries,
Pet food.
Bibles, or people, there was
Yeah.
somebody giving away hard-boiled eggs last week. They had a whole basket of hard-boiled eggs, you could get that, and there was somebody with fruit, and there was somebody who was praying, and people singing praise to God, and just really remarkable, the spirit of community that you feel when you go down there. It's not like, oh, you're homeless, oh, you're poor, oh, you're hungry. It's like, oh, you're homeless, oh, you're poor, oh, you're hungry, come and eat. You
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
money, you need to,
Right.
share. So it's just an amazing program. So if anybody's out there listening that can help this gentleman and help this ministry, it's definitely a worthy cause to do.
Awesome. Have you taken participation in that program? at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been at the events many times.
And what do you think of the program?
Personally, what I think of the program, well, it's interesting being on the flip side.
Sure.
I have been in the place where I've served so many soup bowls and been there at like Mary Jo Copeland's in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, you were a volunteer before you
Been,
volunteered addiction and stuff.
friends with a son of hers.
Right? Yeah.
So, on the flip side, it means a lot. It costs more than anybody wants to pay to get to understand. But grateful for sure.
This is a great opportunity for the people who want to participate. I don't enjoy a lot of the people who go because to me, it seems they're way too needy and they squabble too much over the stuff. How many deodorants do you need? You know, and so
True.
I don't enjoy that. So to control my mind, I would just rather go about my business. I mean, but it's a great opportunity if that's what
Well,
you need.
you know,
Exactly.
but those walls we need to bring down, I think, in a lot of ways, across the board in a lot of places. I mean, I don't go there a lot of times because I'm just like, oh, you know, like people are gonna say, hey, Haas, hey, Haas, hey, Haas. And personally, I don't want to be seen Saturday morning.
Now, you brought up an interesting kind of thing there that I've noticed in the 6 years that I've been, you know, running my foundation, Humble Beginnings, and it does seem like, for some reason, there's a hoarding kind of mentality. for
There
whatever
is, but there's
reason.
also, if you take people who have nothing to do all day,
Mm-hmm.
they suffer from unnecessary drama syndrome.
Right.
There's no two ways about it. Any drop-in center for people on government checks or anything. You know, they sit around, watch television, and they get all emotional about stuff that they should probably just not even think about. And so, get plenty of exercise, eat fresh food, and get up and move around. I don't know. To me, it's bad software. I don't like being around it.
Right.
It doesn't produce happiness in them. Doesn't produce happiness in anyone around them. Nobody wants to hear it. I'm not Oprah.
Right.
I mean, I can't fix this. You know.
Not giving away cars?
That's it.
That's so funny because we were just talking
I
about that
know.
the
So,
other day.
you know,
I
it's,
know.
Not giving stuff
I
away.
have kind of a limited
You.
involvement, you know? It's like when people need so much, like somebody's emotionally upset, usually wants everybody else to be emotionally upset too.
Okay,
You know, I'm not gonna
what,
invest
what
in
I
that.
what I would say to what I want to interject here is open table. I want to say this is a mentality that is created on a world and a system that's been conformed to a place that is as such. Now, I don't disagree with you. In fact, when I get a little bit, you think I want to share any? Karen, I ain't sharing. For real. I'm going to the bush and I'm gonna hide with my little bit because I'm out here on the streets. I
you're a
know what's
social
getting a
user,
little
right?
bit, or you got a cigarette means when you show up,
Yeah, absolutely.
because that means high, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But everybody wants to get.
But nobody wants to give.
And some people aren't happy unless they're unhappy.
Yeah.
That's
They're
true.
even happier if they're making somebody else
That's
unhappy.
true.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But
Most of them live in San Jose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most of them live in
Stay
San
away
Jose.
from
I've lived there.
Yeah. Well, what's it like in the bigger cities? I know you do a lot of traveling, so you're in and out.
Well,
I mean,
oh.
comparison-wise, let's say San
Well,
Francisco to Monterey.
you can believe how soft it is. I believe, you know, I run into people here that are morally outraged. Up in San Francisco, people are getting killed.
Yeah.
San Jose, people get killed. Los Angeles, people get killed. So you need to keep things in perspective.
Right.
You know, I would really,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
somebody stole something off your bicycle, boo-hoo, get another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
yeah,
know?
Exactly.
I don't know, everybody's got a little egocentric in the society.
Well, I always
And-
believe if somebody steals something from you, my whole mantra is that, you know, they need it more than you.
That's exactly what I was
Well,
You know, and for whatever reason, whether it's for their addiction,
I'm
which isn't
nowhere
right,
near
or-
that evolved,
Right.
nowhere
Well,
near.
now, what's your educational level?
Well,
Let me ask
I was laughing about that at the guy in the studio.
Yeah.
I got my GED in prison,
Yeah.
and it's not like I really wanted to, but there was a college class I wanted to take, and I had to have it. And so, I've got some college,
Yeah.
but they taught me how to read before that.
Right. Right.
Then they tried to tell me what to read, and that didn't work well.
That didn't work well. Well, you're a pretty free thinker, you know. I mean, that's a big thing when you start forcing somebody who doesn't want to be taught or doesn't want to learn certain subject matter, then you have a
Well,
rebellious kind of.
they used to teach critical thinking.
Critical
They
thinking.
don't do that anymore. People who don't use critical thinking are much easier to lead.
Are much easier to me.
Do
You said
what?
an interesting earlier.
I'm
Devon.
just listening.
Yeah, but you said an interesting quote to me earlier, and I wanted you to interject that again.
Yes.
You remember that quote?
But no, I don't. Well, go ahead and remind me.
No, I don't remember it. That's why I wanted. I'm sure it'll come to you in a minute. You know, Pastor Jim, what have you seen in evolution as far as the programs and the clients that are here on the peninsula in the last, say, 5 years?
Hi.
Well, when we first got started, it was right after the recession. And there were a lot of people who were unemployed. And it was much easier to, in a faster process to give them a hand up, and sometimes it was just helping them to get their license renewed at the DMV, or get them a phone, or get them some clothing, some decent clothing for a job. And so a lot of them were moving on and getting jobs and getting back into life.
Wow.
And, but then after about 3 years, they were pretty much, they were gone. They were
Right.
back out in society, you might say. And then it was harder then, because a lot of those now who have some issues. And so you adapt and try to meet those issues as best you can. And so, yeah,
Well,
but it's a different, a lot of it's a different clientele.
I remember when you were talking, and there were whole families homeless in cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a really dog-eat-dog economy, and one or two paychecks gone, and you're like that.
Right.
And they're in
Exactly.
shock, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong, because you always think there's this safety net for people, like welfare and stuff like that.
Right.
And it really doesn't work.
No.
But the people that are here now, it's like when they closed down that center in Salinas.
Oh, the warming shelter.
It never used to be drug addicts at the beach or in the park here. This was a clean beach environment.
Right.
And now there's mental health problems everywhere, heroin use. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no future in that.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
how smart do you have to be to know this is not going to have a happy ending?
Right, exactly. Speaking of heroin, another drug that is a really big issue is methamphetamine.
Yeah.
And methamphetamine, it's bad enough as it is, but in the last few years, they started cutting it with bath salts, and
Well,
that was causing
okay.
some mental illness
But here,
problems.
let's talk about responsibility.
Sure.
The Drug Enforcement Administration controls the precursor drugs
Mm-hmm.
that could produce a cleaner product. Obviously, there's a psychological need for this product.
Right.
I don't understand it myself.
Right.
Does it come with a bag of swords to stick on my face and a shopping cart? Please, sign me up for that. I don't even see how they sell that stuff.
Right.
But the behavioral effects of what they're selling now is worse. They're chemically changed.
Right.
These people are some of the most unhappy people I've ever seen in my life. The only thing they feel more than rage is fear, because they want to kill everybody who has anything, because they don't have anything.
Right.
And take your stuff.
You know what, I've seen that type.
Well,
I've
if this
seen this
this
type.
drug can
I-
induce
I-
schizophrenia in a normal person, it cannot induce normalcy in a schizophrenic. It is not algebra. It doesn't go both ways. So I recommend people don't do toxic waste.
Right. 97% of the ingredients in methamphetamine are actually
It
toxic.
starts out as toxic waste and it goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
Makes good people bad, bad people worse.
Is that right? It's toxic?
Yeah.
Yes.
97% of the ingredients in methamphetamine are
Do
actually
you know
toxic to the human body.
Do you know they find the speed labs in Fresno? You look for the places where the zinc has been eaten off the vents on the roof because they're cooking dope inside.
Wow.
If it
So it's
eats,
so corrosive it eats zinc?
Yeah.
yep.
Well, they use.
Never heard
they
can't be
use-
good for you.
Oh, God.
Sign me up.
Ever said good about it.
Yeah, of course not.
Period.
What could be good about it?
Yeah.
Well, but here's the point. The people who take this drug are Americans too.
Right.
And the war on drugs is essentially a war on Americans. And why not change the software of need that they have? Some of these kids are such hardwired speed freaks. They're given Ritalin and Adderall as children and told they're not socially acceptable unless they're under the influence of amphetamines.
Because they want to play.
And then they want, then they want
Exactly, yeah,
to, then they
want
take
to be
methamphetamine
stimulated, their minds.
and they're incarcerated for it.
Have you seen that in?
You know,
Fresno?
it should be
That's really
decriminalized.
Like,
That would
The methamphetamine-
eliminate a lot of
I
crime.
mean, I haven't, no, not really.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. And, right.
Crime is a big business.
Yeah.
Crime, they're
Well,
making money on
they're-
putting
they've turned these
away.
people into a herd of animals they make money off.
Making money.
They'll put you in prison for a victimless crime, and while you're in prison, they'll give you a job that you have to perform for pennies for an hour. It takes a job away from somebody on the street.
Yeah.
So it's like a double whammy to the
Big
city.
business.
And now there's prisoners from California being shipped to Indiana to do their time in private facilities. They've been sold into corporate slavery. And you won't come out and say it. See, the lies of this
And I'm
society.
sure those stocks are going up.
It'll be on boats next.
Yeah. Well, what about the PIA industry? You mentioned that. The Prison Industry Authority actually, again, highest paid person in the Prison Industry Authority who say, okay, Caltrans has a contract with PIA. And they pay them approximately about $1.19, I think it is, an hour at your highest pay rate.
Sure.
Okay, which is great because if you're a clerk, you make about 8 cents an hour and you get up to 16.
Look at the CDF fire camps.
Yeah.
all right? Those guys, in order to be at the fire camp, they have to be so trustworthy they shouldn't be in custody.
Right.
But instead, we have a use for you, so we'll hang on to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's like really stupid.
Yeah.
You know, you've done away with slavery, but here we practice it on a daily basis.
Right.
And never tell the truth about anything.
Right. Right. Yeah.
A lot of those people just can't make bail. They don't have enough money to make bail.
Well, it's not about bail. Once you're sentenced to
It is
prison, you're
convicted.
sentenced to prison. You've been convicted of your crime.
Yeah.
So, you know, in county jail, where you're going to trial and stuff, you can, you know, obviously make bail. But these guys are already in. They've been sentenced to, let's say 10 years. Once they're sentenced, then they go into a prison. They go into a different, you know, there's 4 levels of prison, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 being the lowest. And once you get that level 1 position, then you can apply for the forestry department and kind of move from there. If it works out well, then guess what? You know, you're, as you said, a slave to,
Yeah.
you know, the industry.
And they'll always have a spot for you, bro.
Yeah,
They'll always have a spot
know
for you.
it.
No matter what you do, they'll have a
Stuff to
plea
get out.
bargain for you.
yeah. Well, you know, the thing
They like
is-
you that bad.
Yeah, the nothing machine. It's funny you say that because I call the prison industry complex the nothing machine, because something goes in and nothing comes out.
Well, that's how they manipulate situations, like the transit plaza now.
Yeah, speaking of which, I
All
was
right.
just getting ready to
So
talk about
rather
that.
than deal with the situation of the people hanging out there and sleeping there during the day, being offensive, I got to admit, those are some really offensive people.
Yeah.
They shout
Can be.
obscenities. Their behavior is out of line.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, I've gone up there to get coffee at Pete's Coffee Shop. There's a guy masturbating outside. That's not going to be socially acceptable too many
Right.
places.
No.
You
There's
know,
not a lot of
and
there's
that-
not a lot of cultures that
You're,
accept that.
you're not going to get a lot of.
Defecating outside
Yeah.
or doing something
For
there.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
but then again, that's the type of thing that shouldn't reflect on all the homeless. But
Right.
instead of dealing with this effectively, they go in and pull out the lawn and they put this big fence up. And now it's a big inconvenience. It's almost like a campaign, a military campaign,
Right.
to change the terrain. Like I was talking to Pastor Jim before the show, how there was a guy who put up a tent down in the park at the beach, and he had a Confederate flag, and it turned into a power struggle between him and the entire city, and they changed all the landscaping. Thousands and
became
thousands of
political.
dollars, yeah,
Yeah.
of landscaping, just to get at this one guy.
Wow.
Wow.
And who's being served?
Yeah.
You know, this is all direct consequences of, this guy's getting paid to operate a tractor, and he's spending all day watching this guy and calling the fire department and calling the police. And that's not an efficient way to treat mental health issues.
Right.
And
Oh, I always say thanks, Ronnie. You
Yeah,
know, when it
yeah,
comes
well,
to mental health
exactly.
issue, because
That's
we all
a
know-
Republican model.
Yeah.
Create a situation, create a problem, turn everybody out of the mental hospital, then turn around and do what you want to do in the first place. Quadruple the budget for law enforcement, because look at all these crazy people we have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just straight Republicanism.
Yep. You mentioned the screaming and yelling down at the plaza. You know, there's a client of mine named Skittles is what his street name is, and I don't know his real name. I believe it's Andrew or something to that effect. But anyways, his family are the ones that built that plaza. You know, they were the contractors that built that plaza down there at the Monterey Peninsula Transit Center.
He would
And
sit
so he
there
would sit there and
forever.
protect it. You know, before, and again, now we'll go back to the methamphetamine here in a second, because this is what happened. 3 years ago, he was a pretty lucid guy. You know who I'm talking about.
I do.
believe. You know, really lucid and you know, had some mental health issues, and all he wanted to do was protect his family's legacy. I mean, how do you get mad at a guy who's just trying to protect his family legacy when people are littering and he'd yell at them, say, hey man, pick up that, you know, piece of paper, this is my family built this, or they're laying down, or they're throwing their trash and eating and just throwing stuff down on the ground. You know, and then in 3 years, if you look at him now, and I'm sure you've seen him, he's completely, you know, mentally ill, not lucid in any way, shape, or form, and in and out of county jail. You know, as taxpayers, we
And
have
that's
to cover
because he
that.
went to drugs, you mean?
Yeah, because the methamphetamine used with the cutting agent bath salts. They use bath salts, and that's just, you know, the tip of the iceberg in that
Well,
regard.
but they sell the bath salts at 7-Eleven.
Right, exactly.
So
Legally.
you can't condemn a substance if somebody's too dumb to pick it up. You know, I mean,
Yeah, not use it for its intended use.
you're not going to make a really big campaign just saying no to blue trail mix for rodents. You know, that's what they put in the little boxes outside the supermarkets.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what works. But
Yeah.
this stuff is, yeah, if you don't get it, you just don't get it.
you know,
And people go feral on it, and they
Right, right.
get really primitive.
Yeah. Wow.
I think what's really said of Skits is really unsaid of Skits, and he's a good personal friend of mine. I've known for many years.
But you've seen the evolution.
I've seen I've seen skits wrestle a demon that I would always say forever my hats are off to.
Yeah, yeah, because he has fought. I know.
And
he's
that's
talked
all I
about that.
want to say for skits. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I've seen him up there, and I mean, my hats are off to.
Yeah. Now, another client that I like to just touch on real quick is ice cream. Man, ice cream. How about the evolution of ice cream, Haas? You know, from 3 or 4 years ago, a guy that was, you know, out there at the wharf, you know, and he would balance anything on his head. You know ice cream, I'm sure, you know, and you've seen it. So, Pastor Jim, you know, I'll ask
We
you.
don't see him much anymore.
Well, he's in
Maybe
jail.
once- oh,
A lot of
okay.
times he's in custody all the time
Well-
because he just the last time, as a matter of fact, I believe it was an exposure charge because he was walking around, and this is just a guy who's mentally ill who has no control over what he does because
Okay.
of drugs. And I'm not making excuses for him, but this is what it is. And so, 4 years ago, a kid who was out on the streets, not bothering anybody, not harming anybody, you know, not doing anything but walking around and telling people, I can balance out on my head for $1. And challenge him. And it was great to watch him because he could literally balance anything on his head. This guy was so cool, really great energy, you know, and I remember coming back, I went up north for a couple of years and came back, and he was completely different, completely lost. A guy who was walking around, pants hanging down, you know, and you know, could barely ask for a cigarette or for $1. All because of, again, going back to methamphetamines and bath salts.
Well, you know
But-
what I think there is in the homeless community, there are people what's called like scrambles. Like literally, like in their head, they become, whether it's through methamphetamine or whether through it's alcohol. Because I know a lot of people who get scrambled on alcohol, and they are zombie or but scrambled is the way I call it. And I say that in a lot of ways messes it up across the board for everyone.
Right.
And everybody gets like deemed as scrambled then or so, all of a sudden.
Right. You know, it's the classic punish all for the bad actions of a few.
Even before he went to drugs, he would drink too much, and he's too much of an attention seeker.
Right.
He would seek attention from the wrong people,
Right.
and he doesn't care. Rather than be ignored, redheaded stepchild syndrome.
Yeah.
He'd rather get beat than ignored,
Right.
and so he created a lot of problems for himself.
Right.
And then he wants sympathy,
Right.
but he shows none to anybody else.
Yeah.
And so then he got into drugs and he got really stupid. He can't
Oh,
even
you
stay
said
out of
scramble.
traffic.
That's a great term. I've never heard the term scramble. I've been out there a long time.
Scrambled, yeah.
Yeah.
Not like.
I say tossed. You know, when I see really
Well, hey,
man, that
you
guy
know,
is
The other word for it is a
completely tossed.
dumpster. Somebody will do anything to change how they feel.
Right.
So that commercial with the egg where they say, this is your brain, and then this is your brain on drugs.
I
then
know.
Stir it up. And that's what's
Yeah.
happening.
One of the great.
That was
yeah.
great for us
It's
pot
worse-
smokers.
It's worse than the egg frying sunny side up. It's like you're beating it up.
Yeah.
That was great for us pot smokers. We had forgotten entirely about breakfast.
A great reminder, huh?
Come down to the park tomorrow morning.
Yeah, tomorrow morning. Oh, that's right, tomorrow morning.
It's
we're gonna
tomorrow,
scramble
yeah.
eggs.
Yeah, right, yeah.
9 to 10, is that what?
You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, it's nice to, you know, that we're making light of this in a way, but at the same time, it's a really sad thing that our community, Monterey, and the whole peninsula, you know, has become subject to this, you know, this horrible.
Well, it's
Disease.
the attitude of terror that comes with it. I ride down the bike trail, and people practically surrender to me. They put their eyes down. They won't look at me, and that's not good.
No.
The other people are just, their eyes are bugging with rage. I think, geez, I could sneeze and get half a clip in me.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah, well, you know, we talked about this a little bit about, you know, how we want to change. That's the purpose of, you know, Aaron, my mission basically is to change people's perception of the homeless community, because it's not all addicts and lazy people. You know, it's people who, like you, who've just become complacent and yet get treated horribly.
there's a book called The Dispossessed. This is in the Santa Cruz Public Library. I read this book and it broke my heart, because no matter how you try to sugarcoat it, it was the same pie chart for the homeless in the 1930s as it is now.
Wow.
There is X percentage of insane, X percentage of drug addicts, X percentage of drugs, and X percentage you just can't explain. People who just aren't wired the same way, aren't running the same software.
Right.
Just have, I live in a state park most of the time.
Right.
I could win the lottery and not buy that. So
Right.
I don't compete for that type of resource, you know, but it's just, it's always going to be the same.
Yeah.
And I forget who wrote the book, but it is available in the Santa Cruz Public
The
Library.
title again?
Dispossessed.
This was,
And a lot of the social aberrations, it just break, the percentage, and I just looked at that, and it's really good science.
You know, I want to speak a little bit about trigger events, how people get where they are today in the homeless community. What got you out of the machine?
Stop believing things that aren't true. Stop requiring solutions from other people.
Right.
And what can I do to better myself? What can I do to live more comfortably?
Right.
What's not working in my, like, if I was trying to compete, you look at coffee shops, people have all this, it's like watching baboons, the things people do for status. They invest all this time and effort into this stuff that just does not matter.
Right.
And that's cool. If you want to do that, go ahead, but don't expect me to play.
Yeah.
And don't bring it to me either, because if I'm past it, I'm past it.
Right.
But,
Hoss? Your
Yeah.
trigger event? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
no, that's cool.
Triggers for me,
No, what was the trigger event that brought you to the streets?
really, for me, I think for everybody it's a lot different. For me, it was a personal right choice of coming to Monterey, California from Minneapolis,
Right.
Minnesota,
Right.
to be a father to my daughter in a positive, influencing way. A right choice, leaving a heroin addiction there, 4 years now clean.
From heroin.
What?
From heroin.
From heroin, yes. Free and clean, beat the monster alive from Minneapolis. You
Right.
don't know heroin if you're from
Go
here.
ahead. Yeah.
Anyhow, so like alive from that, making the right choice to be a father to my daughter, who will be 16 this month.
Wow.
Yeah. and
Happy
so-
birthday, and her name is?
Right, Kirsten.
Kirsten. There you go,
Kirsten Anna
Kirsten. Happy
Holrub
birthday.
from Big Sur, California.
Wow.
All right.
Okay. Excellent. And Rev, you've been out here a little bit. You're new to being out here and seeing what's going on the streets of the community here in Monterey, specifically Alvarado Street, because that is the epicenter of the homeless community.
A lot of
What-
people
what
out
do you
there.
see?
I see a big dichotomy between people that have nothing and people that have more than they could possibly use in their lifetimes. I see big houses with no lights on in the window. I see one person that has a home up in San Francisco, and then they've got this home that they only see on the weekends. I see garages that could be used to house somebody. I see sheds that could be used to house somebody. I see trailers that could be used to house somebody that are out there, sitting there, getting dirty and rusting. And there's an awful lot of windows that need to be washed. There's an awful lot of graffiti that needs to be cleaned up. There's an awful lot of garbage that needs to be picked up. There's an awful lot of seagull poop that needs to be cleaned on all these. I mean, in New York City, they have something called the John Doe Project, the Doe Project. And there are people that get brooms and they get a garbage can, and they go out there and they clean. And I don't know if that would take away somebody's $50,000 a year job here in Monterey, but I mean, there's an awful lot of work that can be done, that isn't getting done, that could be getting done by people who need some work, because without some work, you're basically nothing, you're a bum. Without some place to go to at night, you're homeless living on the street, you're a nuisance, you're somebody to move along, get out of here, we don't want you here. But there's a lot of places where somebody could be. I mean, even sleeping, you said, state park, but to sleep in a state park, you need like $20 a night.
Right.
Right.
That's
Well, for a car.
$200,
Yeah,
but
for a car. Yeah.
if you
For a
have
full
a car, I
campsite.
mean,
Yeah.
not a lot of people have cars.
Well, interesting thing, Veterans Park, for example, which is a county park, it's actually not a state park, but their requirement is that for a full campsite, you must have a vehicle, in order to camp there. Otherwise, you go to the bike and hike now.
Yeah.
The full camp is $32 a night, which is actually $12 more than you used it. Is it
It's
30?
30 at Veterans.
Okay, I thought it was 30.
It's 32 at Laguna Seca.
Oh, okay, 32 at Laguna Seca and
So you
30
need a car to get
You
in.
need a car to use a full campsite. If you don't have a vehicle, then you go to the bike and hike, which is for bikers and hikers who are
Right.
traveling through. And that's only $6 a night, which, a lot of clients use. I think you've used it a few
I don't
times,
do it
but-
anymore.
Well,
I've ended up boxing up there,
Yeah.
and not with bicycle riders either.
Right.
You can't
Other
have.
home bums?
Yeah.
it's up on a high hill too, it's hard to get.
Well, it is, but
That
it's,
It's
that's the only,
right.
that's the only thing, that's the only thing that keeps the
Beautiful.
population down, the fact
Yeah.
that it's rough to get to.
Yeah.
But I'm done, I'm over that. I'll have a different
When was the last
strategy.
time you were up there?
earlier this year,
Yeah.
when it was still raining.
Yeah.
Where do you pitch a tent?
But they
in the
limit how long
concrete
you can be
jungle?
there, too.
Yeah.
They do.
Yes, they do have a great, yeah, it works out, it's 30 days you can stay there in a row, but you have to go in.
3 days in,
and
1
1
day
out.
out,
Is what
and
they're,
so you're
Yeah, you
rotating.
just work
I
one
just
day
would go
out,
there
and
when
you
it
can come
rains.
back for 3 more days.
right.
I don't like sleeping inside a tent anyway. I'd rather be aware of my surroundings. And so, but I sleep in a tent when I'm in a campground.
Now, Haas, you did something kind of unusual, which is, I think, one of the things that I want to make a statement about that would change the perception of society, and that is, you go over to where Aaron's candle shop is actually on Cannery Row.
Yeah.
And you go down there in the mornings and you actually make sure that there are not people underneath where they're not supposed to be at, the trespassing sign?
Yeah, well, I'll spend high traffic times down there and just, there's a lot of minors that like to get wild around their parents when they're not really close.
Yeah.
And they'll go under there and, it's just, I mean,
But you fish them out of there. I mean, you actually
yeah,
found
make
it,
sure they're at least 28 or older before they pass anywhere past me, for sure.
Yeah.
Just because, seeing somebody slip, that would, that's not good.
Yeah, or do something that they're not supposed to be doing with.
Well,
people
they're
from
underneath
birds,
that dock, who knows what
See, and
happens.
that's
It goes
something that
forever.
people, I mean, I would never, until you told me that, I would never suspect that a homeless person or that a disenfranchised person would do. And people need to know that you guys are doing positive things for the community.
Well,
Whether
it's an improvement on a Sunday high traffic or on a weekend, holiday weekend. Well, I mean, the homeless man who's quick to be assumed to be the messy cigarette butt begging kind of person. No, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really a lot easier for me to sit in a place where, not many should be going.
Right.
At least if they're 28 or older.
Yeah. And all bets are off, right? Yeah, which is
Right.
interesting. That goes back to the gentleman we talked about when we were talking on the Resistance TV program. That goes out every Sunday. Dario goes out every Sunday out to Carmel Valley on Rio Road and Highway 1 and picks up all the trash out there. There are people out there in your community that are doing
Yeah.
positive things, and mainstream society is not aware of that. I mean,
Exactly.
what
Well, up in
the
Santa
heck
Cruz,
is going on?
like for beach cruises and everything, everybody would be welcome up here. Not so much here,
Yeah.
but up there, it's a different climate. If you're willing to do the work, that's all that matters. And that's, but everybody's got this preconceived caste and system here. That,
Yeah.
but we're harsh on each other too.
Yeah, I apologize for the sound, folks. My mic, it just seems I wanted to go renegade. But you, Aaron, when you came here, we talked about that last week about how you actually came out here and used Veterans Park, which is why you seem to know so much about it. Aaron came out here just to go to college, wanted to go to UMB and wanted to be, or MPC, I'm sorry. And in order to do that, she came out here completely unprepared, without a place to live or anything, and got to experience. Yeah, just required a tent, and to experience the educational system, which I think is brilliant. But what were your experiences with that?
I mean, I met a lot of people. I mean, I think that being in that situation puts you, makes you more approachable, and can sometimes, make you seem, like just more. I met a lot of people who just wanted to talk and know what my story was,
Right.
just like we're doing for other people,
It wasn't the
like.
fact that you were just a hot blonde.
No, I wasn't blonde at the time. That was 2 years ago.
Now, Rev, you take part in a local resource program, correct?
I am the beneficiary of the iHelp program.
Yeah. And what do you think of that program, that resource? I did a little investigation into it, but I want to know what exactly as an actual participant.
I think that it's great to have a place where you can be at night, because out here, if you're in the street, it's just not good
Right.
at all. It's
Yeah.
nice to have a little food
Yeah.
every once in a while.
Sure.
And that's always nice.
Yeah.
Because dumpster diving and things like that, even though people will put their little trays on top of a garbage can, a lot of them go in the garbage can. I mean, there's just so much waste to go into any of these restaurants, and just waste.
Well, but that's evolution.
really-
There's all kinds of niches in the food chain of being homeless. There's guys who dig into dumpsters and do beer cans, and they eat out of there too. And there's other people who just won't even fill out
Yeah,
welfare
but here's
papers.
what I see. I see there's people, the malnutrition, people, what is half the planet is malnourished.
Yeah, well, this is
And,
Monterey.
no, but
There's hot meals
but
7
it
days a
starts
week.
in your, it starts in your home. It starts in your, it starts right with me. And I believe that nobody should be hungry. And we bring up problems, but easy are to bring up problems. Answers are what is the solution to like, okay, well, yeah, this is going on, but yeah, let's get an answer. Instead of putting it in the trash can and let it be okay, but yet somebody's aggro because they're hangry. They're hungry. Because there's people that go hungry all the time.
Well, you were saying when you had leftover food from the party that you had, you brought it up to.
Oh, yeah.
Denny's.
And we meant to talk about that last week, and I forgot all about it. That was a really
You know,
unique
next thing
thing.
you know, people were there and people ate it and people,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we had an event here at Waste Street Studios for a cycling event, actually. It was a closing party, and there was an amazing catering event, and they had quite a bit of leftover food. And so, we didn't know what to do with it. We didn't have capability to store it, or whatever. And Rhett Smith, who's the owner here at Waste Street Studios and produces all of these wonderful programming on Waste Street Live, said, "Hey, we got all this food. What are we going to do with it?" And I said, "Why don't I take it out, and give it away?" And he was brilliant, take it. So we did. Myself, Haas, who was passing by basically, and Rhett's son Foster loaded all that stuff up, and we took it out to Denny's. We jumped on a bus. I got us a couple of courtesy rides from our wonderful sponsor MST, and ran out to Denny's. And right there on Alvarado, right on the side of Denny's, dude, I set up this whole buffet with 4 cheese raviolis and quinoa and vegetable primavera and raspberry cheesecake and plates, napkins, forks, everything, and sat there at 1 o'clock in the morning until I think we were there till around 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was
and then
good time.
we fed probably 15, maybe 16 people who just happened to be going by, because a lot of my clients don't come out, as you know, don't come out until late at night, in respect of law enforcement and the tourism industry,
No.
somewhat,
No
because they
Sriracha.
don't want to be roused or whatever, and that's okay. But anyways, we ended up taking that food. You took it down to MST and then fed more people down there.
Yeah,
but,
it was great.
That's a way.
Spreading food around that would have been like needlessly
away.
wasted, but went to really, really good people's hunger problems.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say. But think of it like this. The food could have gone into the trash, or people that were like homeless, they would have been wanting to go inside a Denny's establishment and go in there and hang out in front of their establishment instead, wanting to go inside because they just want $5 so they can go inside and eat and have a place to sit for $5 all night long, or to get fed their food and not have an answer, to be standing there, even a question of being hungry to want something what?
Yeah. Well, one of the problems.
It's a
is-
serious answer to a problem that people would have as an establishment that would be generating money for tourism, period.
Well, there's a problem that with the plaza you talked about earlier, and Pastor Jim, I'm sure you've seen it sometimes where law enforcement comes down and causes some problems for the homeless community. And again, as Dave said, punished all for the bad actions of.
Well, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse. Oh, if you're gonna be that way, we'll do this.
Right.
And see, they talk to us like we're retarded children, because we live outside.
Right.
And a lot of people take it. That's one of my biggest grudges with the homeless, is they're so meek, there's so many mentally ill, that anybody can push them around.
Yeah.
And then there's me.
Yeah. Then there's you. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Now,
it's really foolish the way people,
I'm going to go into some dangerous waters here right now, only because of the fact that what I've seen and what you've seen are two different things, and that is, here in Monterey, the law enforcement community, what I've seen is positive. With Seal, for example, we talked about that. She was the matriarch of the homeless community here, and is currently in the Bridge program and stuff, and they helped her do that. But on the flip side,
she was the
of that-
queen bee of the drama club. She drank a lot and everything, but a lot of us don't drink like that, don't use chemicals, and don't participate in the drama.
Right. And then you see another side of law enforcement as a individual who will not be pushed around, will not be meek or anything.
And see,
You
as
stand up for what's
as far
right.
as the law enforcement, we don't have the right to defend ourselves. We don't have the right to defend our property. Any situation we get into, we're wrong for being there in the first place. And so we're supposed to be very diffident, and it's just really not that way.
Right. So
Yeah.
how is it?
Well, we pretty much have our own society, our own rules, and me and my friends, we live by our stuff. We don't really participate. We're not worried about the law enforcement here too much because they're not very effective. The other day, I watched a guy who's got real mental health problems and a controlled substance problem. He's throwing rocks at a car on Del Monte. The police come and talk to him, they don't do anything to him. They let him go. He goes over and he's shouting and screaming at McDonald's. The police come again, they don't do anything to him. They let him go. He needs to be playing bingo in his bathrobe.
Take all these
Yeah.
scrambled people and put
Yeah.
them in
Okay,
one place.
but instead they create fear and everything like that. And then people react to that and they come around and it's, if I'm not on drugs, I don't have anything to fear from the police here.
Right.
And I just really don't like the way they act.
Right.
And the things they do.
Right.
And I could document that, but it probably is not fair talking about them when they're not here.
Right.
But I really dislike that Liason guy, the law enforcement Ken doll guy,
Yeah.
who just is always talking and always selling an agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just,
Not walking around in riot gear like they are in New York City. I mean,
Absolutely.
You see those guys on TV, and they're wearing the full
And that's why I'm not there.
Right.
black
yeah.
suits, the body armor.
Automatic
Yeah.
weapons.
They're locked and loaded. with-
Right.
with
It's a
automatic
different
weapons.
place in a
They
different
choked
town.
that guy for selling loose cigarettes, choked him to death. The guy
Absolutely.
can't breathe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
They're not doing that
that's
out
up to the
here.
people, that's up to the people in New York, because the people in California wouldn't put up with that. You look at LA, revolution's in the air, brother. I mean, just like that could go. And every
Weren't they talking
confrontation.
California's gonna be a separate country or something?
Yeah.
It's-
Thing
Yeah.
for a while. I'm not sure where they went with
should
it,
by
but
now.
And
it was
better
a,
than that,
it was a
better
thing
than
for
that,
a while, definitely.
everybody in California wants California to be two separate countries because we don't even like each other.
North and South,
Yeah,
NorCal
yeah,
and SoCal?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I gotta
we're
say,
we're probably gonna go to war over that and the loser gets Fresno.
I was about to say, what are we gonna do with the center? We just gonna split it right down the middle.
Bullet train.
You've been banished to
'Cause
Fresno.
in
Fresno,
LA
we love you, man.
In
It's not all
LA,
that
in
bad.
LA,
Yeah.
the revolution's gonna be over in about 3 days, and then they'll just turn off the water.
Yeah. Well, again, we talk about Monterey Police and the double standard that they have.
Yeah.
I see something different. They just had an event over at McDonald's. They had coffee with the cop, and Shasta was actually the
I
cop that
missed
was
that.
there, and she sat there. I guess it was like I want to say it was on a Friday, and at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And she sat there, and people came in and were able to ask questions and talk about. The
I didn't see anybody
policies
talking
and
to
stuff.
them. I asked them if they were after the
Oh,
hamburger.
you were there. You actually
I went
came
in
in.
and had breakfast and got it to go, but nobody was talking to them.
So what'd you see?
I asked them if they were after the hamburger.
But I mean, as far as the event went, were there a lot of people there? Or what was
No,
there?
there's nobody talking to them. A lot of people weren't even going in the restaurant because there were all these cop cars outside. And
So
why go
McDonald's
to a
was
place?
not allowed-
Why go to a place where there's already trouble?
Right,
You know,
right,
I mean,
right,
why walk
exactly.
in on somebody else's scene?
Yeah, so that didn't work out too well. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to invite somebody from law enforcement every week to come down and chat. And I'm working on getting Officer Collier vetted to come down here and talk about what they do, because I honestly, in my opinion, in 6 years of doing this, I've seen some really, really amazing things happen. I've gotten calls from officers at night. Matter of fact, darn it, Sarah Anton was arrested, and they had her backpack. And I had an officer call me over and said, "Hey, listen, they can't take backpacks to the jail, and somebody needs to take care of it." And I actually, as one of the quote-unquote services of humble beginnings, I said, "I'll be happy to take it." And I got it to one of her friends. But, they could have very easily just hooked her up and cuffed her and just taken her off and left her backpack there and just called it a day. But they were actually willing to do that. And I think that's maybe rare air, but...
Well, I think some of the locals they have relationships with, and part of their lifestyle is going in and out of custody all the time.
Right.
Others of us are nowhere near as cooperative or well, I don't know, not in a
Submissive?
position, not in a position of vulnerability because of chemicals or anything in my lifestyle.
Right.
So I don't need any mercy.
Right.
And
You know, there's others like me who just frequent to see them because tourists think I so strange, possibly,
Yeah.
and are quick to notify them, and then as frequent to get to know them. And now I feel actually kind of like nice hanging around them. I wish I would have found out about the little coffee greet thing, because
Well, that's
I
why you're the
understand why they
voice.
get looked at so strange sometimes when I hang out with them, and it's kind of nice.
because large
That's why
sections,
you're the voice in the streets, and we got to get some of that stuff out there.
because large sections of the population are not represented by them or what they do.
Yes, I
This
agree with
justice
that. You know who
system,
rates that?
me and my friends can be nothing but victims, so we refuse to participate.
How do you feel about the meter maid?
I don't park, so I don't care.
Oh, nobody likes the meter maid, though.
Well,
Oh, you mean as far as her attitude and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know which one that is. I've heard about that. You know that there's definitely you
I've
do.
heard about it, yeah.
Yeah. So I
well,
mean,
they're
it's-
basically all wannabe authorities. That's like the people at the Monterey Transit Plaza. When the park system, they actually have seminars for the park employees to teach them what to recognize in the homeless as danger signs and stuff like this is a sign of drug use and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And it's just,
You know, and it's so not true. You know,
well,
we
you
talked
would
about
think,
that. You know,
you
the
think,
whole
you know,
drug issue.
you're paying me to operate a lawnmower, dude. You want all this psychological services? I would hold out. Just,
Yeah, definitely. Pastor, you know, I see you sitting there and you're kind of amazed at this information that's going out there because you see a completely different side of things as well. You know, you see them come and you know, participate in your program and what have you.
And we've had to call the police in at different times, right?
And how was the interaction with them when they did show up?
It was appropriate to the situation. But I do know Monterey, 2 weeks ago we talked about, we didn't have the names, but the police chief is David Holber, and he has set up a detachment, a special detachment, and I think it's 3 or 4 officers to deal with the homeless, which you don't see in too many communities.
Right.
And he does try to interact with agencies then who are dealing with the homeless
Right.
at times and stuff, and
So
so.
when did they set this up?
It's been probably about 18 months now or so, that I'm aware of. Might have
Interesting,
been a
because
couple years.
I've never realized that there was
They
actually.
do that, and Seaside has a program too.
Yeah.
But they're more emphasized on health services and mental health
Yeah, because
services.
Shasta's part of that program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get her to come in and do the show next
Yeah.
week. I've been working on that, and we should be able to make that happen now. We're pretty close to wrapping up the show this week. It's gone by pretty quickly. We're, you know, touched on some very interesting things and got some very interesting perspectives. But there's a new event or program, a resource that's going to be available, and I want to talk about resources with Pastor Jim here real quick. You were mentioning Shoreline Church is putting on an event with about 20 other churches.
Probably about 10 to 12 other churches that I'm aware of, but it's August the 26th. It's a Saturday, and it's an outreach for the churches. To be probably about maybe anywhere from 600 to 800 people will be going out, doing different services and stuff. And so there'll be, I believe it's Monterey Church this year will be working with us. Last year, we had Shoreline that came. But they'll be going not just to our organization, but all over the community. And a lot of times they'll go to schools, they go to parks and stuff like this, just to clean up and fix, and make some repairs,
Wow,
this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can go to a website, loveourcentralcoast.org, and you can see what's going to be happening.
Wow. Okay, we'll put that up on our Facebook page and some of the other social media stuff, and we'll make sure we put that out because that's pretty amazing. And again, this is what I've said from the beginning. Doing this is that it's different here on the peninsula than big cities, than other communities, than Salinas, where you know
Absolutely.
the best part about Salinas is the bullets are free.
Yeah.
That's about it, you know, and that's a horrible thing to say, but it really is bad there. And here in Monterey on the peninsula, you know, we've got all these amazing resources that are reaching out, and we just got to connect client with resource. That's
You
the
know,
key.
even for us, this was a resort. You had to be able to keep your behavior up to, you know, certain standards. You can't go around swearing and screaming and being all aggressive.
Yeah.
You have to keep your hygiene up, and
Right.
you had to behave certain ways to be here, otherwise
As
you
in
would
the
get-
homeless community.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a kind of a hierarchy and a kind of standard.
Yeah, yeah, there used to be.
How
a
long ago was that?
That was really recent.
Wow.
Because they had to, you know, if you were a bum here, they used to tell you go down to the beach, and you all had to hang out in one area,
Wow.
which led to a lot of conflict.
Wow. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, again, we're pretty close to closing now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I wish we could talk more and
that's
longer. And Dave,
Pass
you're always
out.
welcome to come down and be a guest here, because I love your perspective, and I think what you have to say is important, because, you know, again, most of the homeless community doesn't have a voice, and that's what they need, is a voice, because for an hour a week, we get to reach out to the world and talk about what's going on and show the other side. And we have Pastor Jim, who gets to talk, and Rev here, who's going to close the show with prayer in a minute. Once we get down to 1 minute, we'll go ahead and let you tell that one prayer that is so amazing, and close our show out. We will have some information on the Facebook page, and again, thanks to Wave Street Studios and Wave Street Live. They put on this amazing channel, and there's so much programming there. You know, we talked about the wellness stuff. You know, it's all, the channel basically is all about best day of your life from breakfast to bedtime, and you can go to Wave Street Live on YouTube and find all this amazing programming, from yoga to vegetarian cooking to
There you go.
little victories, man, because that's what it's all about. One little victory at a time.
Find
you know?
software to make you happy.
Absolutely, man. You know, as an individual, we can make a change, but as a collective, we can change the world.
Amen.
Amen. So, Rev, if we can get a prayer from you, everybody stand up and we want us to Rev tell a prayer. Say a prayer. Oop, we go. Yeah, right up there. We're good. Yeah, we're good. No.
Circle this up, circle
Well, we're
this
gonna
up.
block the camera a little bit. Hospital, move a little to the right, and let's go ahead and start your prayer. Sir.
This is the prayer that I met Turtle with. It's my favorite prayer. And it goes kind of like this. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall softly on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hands. May you ride in the shadow of Lady Luck's wings. May everyone you meet be blessed because they've met you. And may you be blessed because you've met them. May you live a life of virtue such that you may obtain felicity in this world and the next. In Jesus' name I pray this humble and worthy and imperfect prayer. Amen.
All right, folks, that's it. Remember, even you can create a little victory.
And again, Pastor Jim, wonderful ministry. What's
Yeah,
the name
we're
of that
done.
ministry again?
Oh, Pastor Word, yeah,
Ministry.
yeah.
You can support his
Yeah.
cause. Well worth it.
Yep.